Xia Xiaoqian stood frozen, her entire body stiff at the entrance to her boyfriend's office. Through the crack in the door, she could see a man and a woman holding each other tightly, the atmosphere between them glowing with intensity. Just one door separated them, but she could hear the man's voice. It was Xiao Ran. The woman's voice echoed cheerfully, calling him third young master. Xia Xiaoqian could never have imagined in her wildest dreams that she would witness this. The company will soon be in your hands. Xia Xiaoqian felt a chill deep in her bones, hardly believing the scene in front of her. Inside, the man responded coldly, without a trace of emotion. She's nothing more than a plaything. Now that I've acquired her company, she's of no more use to me. Xia Xiaoqian clenched her fists tightly, her whole world collapsing in an instant. She had given everything to him, poured her heart and soul into supporting him in his rise to the top of the business world. And in return, all she got was to be called a plaything. Filled with rage and sorrow, Xia Xiaoqian couldn't believe the betrayal. She shouted to them, "Do you really think you can just buy out my grandpa's company? Do you seriously think I helped you reach this point so you could control everything?" Without thinking, she grabbed a fire extinguisher and sprayed the entire contents all over the scumbag and his lover. Then, with a fierce throw, she smashed the bottle into his face before storming out. "You won't get away with this," she thought. As she hurried down the stairs, her phone rang. It was her grandpa's assistant. The news she heard made her blood run cold. Her grandpa was on the roof of his company building. Panicking, she ran as fast as she could toward the building, her mind racing. Just as she reached the street, she heard someone shout, "Someone's going to jump." A crowd had already gathered, all eyes were looking up. Xia Xiaoqian lifted her head and saw a frail, bent figure standing on the edge of the roof, her grandpa. Desperately, she screamed for him, running toward the building, but it was too late. In the next second, his body plummeted right before her eyes. Heart pounding, she dashed across the street, but a speeding car hit her, sending her flying. Agonizing pain overtook her body, and everything went blank. In that moment, Xia Xiaoqian knew this was the end. Suddenly, Xia Xiaoqian jolted awake, gasping for air, her hand reaching out as if to grab hold of something. A graceful woman, Zhong Minute, was holding her tightly, her eyes red from crying. "Yunqi," she whispered. "Don't be scared, Mom's right here." Xia Xiaoqian's face was blank, her mind still foggy. She hadn't fully processed what was happening, still confused by everything around her. The woman gently wiped away her tears, her eyes filled with concern. "You scared me to death. How did you even fall into the water?" she asked. A group of doctors dressed in white rushed over, quickly running tests on all her vital signs. After a thorough examination, they concluded the patient suffered from severe oxygen deprivation after falling into the water, causing some brain damage. The extent of the after effects will vary from person to person, but with proper care, she should recover over time. As soon as the paperwork was signed, she could be discharged. Xia Xiaoqian glanced at the medical report in her hands, and it suddenly hit her, she had been reincarnated into the body of Lang Yunqi, the arrogant and spoiled daughter of the Long family. Her biological father was a man of great power, and her mother was the head of a financial empire. The Leng family's patriarch was a legendary figure, having weathered countless storms in his lifetime. The Lang family was almost as powerful as the Xia family, the business titan Xia Xiaoqian was originally from. In fact, they only fell slightly short of the most influential family in the capital, the Qiu family. While Zhong Minute, Yunqi's mother, was heartbroken over what her daughter had gone through, she was also relieved that her life had been saved. Just as she was about to thank the doctors, there was a knock on the door. In walked a smiling man holding a bouquet of flowers, Xiao Ran. "Yunqi, are you okay? I heard you fell into the water and rushed over as soon as I could." His face was all too familiar, and seeing him so suddenly made Lang Yunqi tremble. She clearly didn't expect they'd meet again so soon. Yunqi's eyes lowered as she clenched her teeth. "The heavens have granted me a second chance. This time, even if you are a business genius, I will use everything I have to crush you into dust." Xiao Ran placed the flowers on the bedside table, answering Zhong Min's questions casually. Noticing her daughter's cold demeanor, Jong Minute asked worriedly, "What's wrong, sweetheart? Don't you recognize your brother Xiao Ran? Last time we visited his family, Grandpa Xiao even gave you a jade bracelet." Lung Yunqi's eyes flashed with hatred. All this kindness for no reason, he's just trying to use marriage to latch onto the Leng family. Dream on. Just then, she snuggled into her mom's arms and said sweetly, "Mom, whenever I see brother Xiao Ran, I remember that terrible car accident his girlfriend had. So tragic." The room instantly fell silent. Xiao Ran's face shifted immediately. "How do you know about that?" he demanded, stepping closer with a sharp glare. Lung Yunqi blinked innocently, pretending to be confused. "Oh, I saw it on the news. They said she was so disfigured, and her grandfather's body was found nearby after he jumped to his death. Super creepy." Xiao Ran's expression darkened completely. When did that site post it? Without thinking, he stepped forward and grabbed her. Jong Minute smacked his hand away with a harsh shout, "Yunqi just woke up. Don't scare her." Leng Yunqi gave an innocent look, "It's my fault for bringing up something that upset you." But Xiao Ran's mind was racing. He thought he had completely covered up the incident. How could Lung Yunqi know about the crash? And what else might she know? Suddenly, there was another knock on the door. All three turned to look as a seductive woman strutted into the room, her fox-like eyes locking onto Xiao Ran. "Sorry to interrupt, third young master. Mr. Fang requests your return." In her past life, Xia Xiaoqian had been a top-tier stockbroker, helping her boyfriend climb to the peak of his career. But despite her deep devotion, he betrayed her, using her and driving her only family member to suicide. It was the same secretary who had been with Xiao Ran the night she died. Could they be hiding something? "Well, I just graduated this year, and I've got nothing else to do. How about I take over the company?" Jong Minute was thrilled to hear her daughter suddenly show interest in the family business, though she was also a bit suspicious. "Are you serious? You always refused before. Why the change of heart today?" Ling Yunqi, acting all sweet, replied, "I don't want to worry you anymore, Mom. Xiao Ran likes to show off his success in business, right? Well, I'm going to inherit the Leng family's empire and crush him in the corporate world." Jong Minute, who had always spoiled her daughter without limits, couldn't be happier. "Once you're fully recovered, we'll throw a grand party and introduce you to all the big players in the business world. Don't worry, the family will pave the way for you." With both the Lung and Zhong families backing her, this time, Leng Yunqi wasn't just stepping into the business world, she was practically playing with cheat codes. They planned a huge banquet to celebrate her 22nd birthday, inviting the most important people in the industry. The grand ballroom was packed with influential guests, a sea of luxury and elegance. A few spoiled rich kids gathered in a corner, sneering. Is Leng Yunqi really going to take over the family business? What a joke! She's nothing but a pretty face with no brains. As they gossiped, the room suddenly erupted in gasps. Oh my god, Xiao Ran's here too, someone exclaimed. Xiao Ran, the head of the powerful Xiao Corporation, had arrived. Xiao Ran immediately became the center of attention as soon as he walked through the door. Upstairs, the lights illuminated the second floor, where Ling Yunqi appeared, gracefully descending the stairs in a stunning custom-made blue off-shoulder gown. The dress perfectly accentuated her figure, exuding elegance and nobility. She was as dazzling as a precious gemstone, her poise reminiscent of a pearl hidden deep in the ocean, subtle yet radiant. Her presence left everyone in awe. Yet, as captivated as they were by her beauty, many couldn't help but feel a twinge of pity. She's gorgeous, they whispered, but isn't she just a pretty face with no substance? The clinking of champagne glasses filled the room. Jong Minute stepped forward, her movements elegant as ever, and addressed the crowd. Thank you all for attending my daughter Yunqi's birthday celebration. I'm proud to announce that she will soon be joining the Zhong group. I hope you'll all support her in this new beginning. As soon as the words left her mouth, the room erupted in whispers. Are the Long and Zhong families out of their minds? They think this brainless beauty is going to handle the business? She's only 22. Ignoring the skeptical looks, Jong Minute took Yunchi's arm and led her outside to watch a fireworks display her cousin had arranged just for her. A rocket shot into the sky, bursting into a brilliant explosion of color, lighting up the night. Suddenly, the sound of a roaring engine turned everyone's heads. A sleek metallic gray supercar zoomed down the main road and stopped right in front of the steps. The driver stepped out and walked up to Lung Yunchi, handing her the keys. "Miss Lung, this is a birthday gift from your grandfather, Mr. Jong." The crowd gasped. "Whoa, that's a Lamborghini Veneno. There are only 3 of these in the world, and they're worth millions." Before the buzz had even died down, another luxury car pulled up behind the Lamborghini. Everyone was curious, was this another gift? The driver opened the back door, and out stepped a familiar face. It was none other than young Master Chiao. The 3 words hit like a bombshell, and the entire banquet hall erupted. Lung Yunchi froze, her eyes widening in shock. The name Young Master Chiao was practically legendary in the elite circles of Dijing. If the Xiao family was the undefeated ruler of the business world in Dijing, the Lung family was an influential and respectable household. But the Chiao family? They were the ones pulling the strings behind the scenes, controlling the fate of every prominent family in Dijing. Noticing Lung Yunchi's nervousness, Jong Minute gently patted her on the back. "Don't worry. Young Master Chiao is a close friend of your grandfather. He sent him here to support you since your grandfather couldn't make it." Lung Yunchi nodded, still overwhelmed. She had been reborn into this world as the only daughter of one of the most powerful families. But now, she realized just how much support she had, not only from her family but also from a legendary figure like Xiao Yu Mo. She had heard of him before, but his world seemed so far from hers that she always thought of him as a myth. And yet, here he was, in the flesh, attending her birthday party. This wasn't just a new beginning, it was the chance of a lifetime. Barely able to breathe, she accepted the birthday gift that young Master Chiao handed her. "Happy birthday." As his words echoed through the room, the once boisterous crowd fell silent. That was Xiao Yu Mo, the most brilliant heir of the Chiao family. People rarely got the chance to even see him, and now here he was, right in front of them. Gasps filled the air as disbelief spread among the guests. Even Xiao Ran, who stood nearby, was surprised that Xiao Yu Mo would show up for Lung Yunchi's birthday. He began to reconsider what Lung Yunchi might bring to the table. As the live band began playing a soft waltz, Xiao Ran walked toward Lung Yunchi and extended his right hand. "May I have this dance?" Before Lung Yunchi could respond, the murmurs around them grew louder, and the crowd's astonishment was plain on their faces. "Doesn't young Master Xiao never dance at social events?" Lung Yunchi stood at the center of attention, staring at the hand extended in front of her. Her expression was calm. "Xiao Ran, you cheated on me with your secretary, caused my grandfather's death, and took over the next family business. And now you want to cozy up to the Ling family's only daughter. You've got some nerve." Just as Lung Yunchi was about to raise her hand, it was suddenly intercepted. Xiao Yu Mo stepped in front of her and Xiao Ran, taking her hand instead. The air seemed to freeze. Even Xiao Ran, who was always composed, looked genuinely surprised for once. Without even glancing at Xiao Ran, Xiao Yu Mo smoothly pulled Lung Yunchi close, a soft smile on his face. "I forgot to ask, would you like to share the first dance with me?" Lung Yunchi's heart skipped a beat. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw Xiao Ran's face darken. A confident smile crept across her lips. "Dancing the opening waltz with young Master Chiao? What an honor." Turning to Xiao Ran, she smirked slightly. "Sorry, young Master Xiao, but I couldn't turn down young Master Chiao's invitation." Xiao Yu Mo led her gracefully into the center of the dance floor. From start to finish, he didn't spare Xiao Ran a single glance. The room, which had felt frozen, suddenly buzzed with excitement, like oil hitting a hot pan. Xiao Ran lowered his head, his hands clenched into tight fists, veins bulging, while everyone's eyes were fixed on the dance floor. The music was enchanting, and their dance steps were flawless. Xiao Yu Mo was tall and reserved, and Leng Yunqi looked radiant as her dress swirled elegantly. Together, they seemed perfectly in sync, their movement smooth and mesmerizing, as if the chaos of the room faded away. But as the dance continued, a playful glint appeared in Xiao Yumo's eyes. This Leng family heiress wasn't quite like the girl Mr. Leng had described. "You're quite the dancer," Xiao Yumo said. "Before I came, your grandfather had a few words for me." Before he could finish, Leng Yunqi faltered, startled. Luckily, Xiao Yumo twirled her effortlessly, making the moment appear seamless. "This is a la nod." "Oh, really?" The music began to slow, and the waltz came to a graceful end. Leng Yunqi elegantly performed a social curtsy, moving fluidly as always. Soon, many of the socialites took the opportunity to gather around them. "Young Master Xiao, when did you return to the country? You didn't even give us a heads up. You know that Xiao and Chen families are distant relatives and that we are friends," one of them, bold enough to start some small talk, chimed in. Xiao Yumo simply glanced at them with mild indifference, then a small smirk flickered at the corners of his lips. Without saying a word, he took Leng Yunqi's hand again. For a moment, everyone seemed to forget that the star of the evening was Leng Yunqi herself. Yet, unsurprisingly, she had once again become the center of everyone's attention. If the fact that Xiao Yumo, known for never attending social events, had made a rare exception to invite Leng Yunqi to open the dance wasn't shocking enough. His open display of favor toward her now made it crystal clear Leng Yunqi had his full attention. Seizing the moment, Leng Yunqi smiled calmly and said, "Thank you all for attending tonight's party. I used to waste a lot of time being reckless and immature, but from now on, I plan to focus on learning more about business. I hope I can count on all of your guidance." Even though she had quite the reputation for stirring up trouble in the past, she handled the crowd with ease, her words polished and poised. Everyone could sense it, Leng Yunqi had changed. Meanwhile, the lively atmosphere on their side contrasted sharply with the dark cloud hanging over Xiao Ran. After being publicly turned down by Leng Yunqi, who then danced with Xiao Yumo, Xiao Ran's expression was stone cold. He'd been instructed by his family's patriarch to explore the possibility of an alliance between the two families, but now it seemed like Leng Yunqi had flipped the script entirely. With a bitter smile, Xiao Ran grabbed 2 glasses of champagne and began walking toward her. The room, which had been buzzing moments ago, suddenly fell into an uneasy silence. Is young Master Xiao actually pursuing Leng Yunqi now? It's such a change, wasn't it always the other way around, with her chasing after him, some of the guests whispered. Wow, what a guy, Xiao Ran had completely ditched her before, but now that she's reincarnated in someone else's body, he's all over her, not willing to let go. In front of everyone, Xiao Ran held the champagne out right in front of Leng Yunqi, basically daring her to refuse, as if saying, "You wouldn't really disrespect the Xiao family, would you?" Leng Yunqi knew exactly what Xiao Ran was up to. He was clearly still smarting from the earlier dance situation. Her eyes turned cold for a split second, but then she shifted into a bright, sunny smile. "Xiao Ranji, did you need something? How come you won't even drink the toast I'm offering?" Xiao Ran's eyes grew darker as he stared at her. This girl used to chase after him non-stop, always talking about becoming his girlfriend. But in just a week, she'd changed so much. Was she playing hard to get now, or just using Xiao Yumo to mess with his pride? The crowd began whispering among themselves. Well, looks like having young Master Xiao backing her up has made her pretty cocky. She's practically walking on air. Xiao Yumo, although on the phone, hadn't taken his eyes off Leng Yunqi. With a hesitant look, Leng Yunqi took the glass from Xiao Ran. "Honestly, the doctor told me not to drink. I just recovered from a serious illness," she said, staying totally calm despite the curious glances around her. Xiao Ran, even though still irritated from being turned down earlier, couldn't exactly force a girl who'd just gotten over a major illness to drink, especially in front of everyone. Sure enough, his face stiffened, and he muttered, "You're right, you just got better. I wasn't thinking." He awkwardly added, "About what happened in the hospital that day. I lost my cool. Sorry if I scared you. And that car accident? I looked into it, it was just some gossip spread by a couple of minor tabloids. I don't have a girlfriend. Lung Yunchi's eyes flashed with a hint of mockery, but she quickly brushed it off. She couldn't believe how blind she'd been in her past life. Xiao Ranji, just stop pretending, she suddenly raised her voice, her expression shifting to something more conflicted. I already know all about your love story with Sister Xia. Everyone knows you're crazy about her. Sister Xia's sudden death must have been really hard on you, Xiao Ranji. You need to take care of yourself. Leng Yunqi added as she deliberately took a step back. Xiao Ran's face darkened, his cold gaze fixed intensely on her. His expression was downright scary. Leng Yunqi's words hit a nerve. He hated it when people brought up Xia Xiaoqian in front of him. He couldn't deny a single thing she'd said, but to everyone else, it just seemed like she was distancing herself from him, no longer chasing after him. The guest started whispering again. No way, right? His ex just died, and now Xiao Ran is already flirting with the Leng family's daughter. Xiao Ran clenched his wine glass tightly, glaring at the calm expression on Leng Yunqi's face. He forced a smile, made up an excuse, and turned to leave. If he stayed any longer, he might lose it and strangle her. He couldn't shake the feeling that Leng Yunqi was deliberately rubbing salt in the wound about his ex. Was she just jealous and trying to provoke him by acting distant? Or had she really moved on? He couldn't be sure. Watching Xiao Ran's face turn pale with anger, Leng Yunqi's mood brightened. Did you really want to be Xiao Ran's girlfriend before? A cool voice suddenly cut through the air behind her. Leng Yunqi didn't even think before blurting out, yeah. Who hasn't made dumb decisions when they were young and blind? She turned to face Qiao Yumo, only to freeze when she saw the deep, unreadable look in his eyes. Oh no, she had gotten carried away. Qiao Yumo, finding her reaction amusing, decided to tease her. So, have your eyes finally cleared up now? Without missing a beat, Leng Yunqi replied, the moment I laid eyes on you, my vision was instantly fixed. She didn't even think before she complimented him, trying to smooth things over. Qiao Yumo's eyebrow arched slightly. So, what you're saying is, now you've got a thing for me? Leng Yunqi's eyes widened in shock. No, that's not it. You've got it all wrong, she stammered, trying to explain herself when, right in the middle of her awkward panic, a voice called out from nearby. Yunqi, sweetheart, come cut the cake and make a wish. It was Zhong Minute, saving her just in time. Leng Yunqi quickly made up an excuse and slipped away. Soft music began playing, and the massive 4-tier cake, adorned with countless red blossoms, became the center of attention. Leng Yunqi clasped her hands together, her eyes sparkling with pure joy and satisfaction. It looked like her happiness was about to overflow any second. Standing closest to her, Qiao Yumo couldn't help but wonder, was a birthday party really worth all that excitement? The celebration was a huge success. Later that night, after getting ready for bed, Leng Yunqi picked up her phone as usual. She logged into Weibo to check out the day's trending topics. She didn't expect to see a new post, one that had been shared hundreds of thousands of times. A viral sensation had burst onto the trending page, normally reserved for A-list celebrities. The title caught her eye, What a Dream Couple. It was dominating the charts. Curious, Leng Yunqi clicked on the post, only to gasp in shock. She shot up from her bed immediately. The picture showed her and Qiao Yumo, taken when she had been saying goodbye to him outside her house. Leng Yunqi was stunned. Someone had snapped a casual picture of them and now it was all over the internet. Even the fireworks from her birthday party were in the background. The comment section was flooded with fans gushing over them, begging for this couple to go public. They were saying things like, these two are just too gorgeous together. And if she remembered correctly, Qiao Yumo had always kept a low profile, barely ever giving interviews or letting the media into his life. Even the wealthiest families struggled to invite him to their events. He'd made a rare appearance at her party, and now he was all over the trending list. How was she supposed to explain this to him? Before she could figure that out, her phone started buzzing non-stop. Her class group chat was blowing up with everyone tagging her. Apparently, Jong Bei had posted a photo of her and Xiao Yumo on the hot trending list, making Leng Yunqi the center of attention in the group. After all, barely anyone had seen Xiao Yumo in person, so the photo caused quite a stir. The group chat instantly blew up, and a girl named Qi Luoshan chimed in with some shady comments. She sarcastically hinted that Leng Yunqi was a sugar mommy for keeping a younger guy, subtly accusing her of being two-faced. Leng Yunqi frowned, pulled up the original owner's social media feed, and smirked coldly. Qi Luoshan, the second daughter of the Qi family. The frenemies from the original owner's life were all part of the rich kid's social circle. In the original owner's memories, she and Qi Luoshan had been rivals, always competing openly and in secret. Now, Qi was stirring up drama again, trying to throw shade. Leng Yunqi's fingers flew across the phone keyboard as she tagged Qi Luoshan in the group chat. "I know you've been salty ever since you lost the class beauty contest. Always bitter about it, huh? But instead of moping, maybe you should focus on becoming a talented girl since looks aren't working out for you. Oh, and before you open your mouth, try using your brain first. Even if you combine everything you have, it's still not worth a single pinky finger of the person in that photo. And by the way, who told you I like Xiao Ran?" With that, the whole group chat exploded. Who would have thought that the class beauty, known for just being a pretty face, could clap back so hard? Every line had Qi Luoshan pinned to the floor, dragging her through the mud. Qi Luoshan was so furious she almost had a stroke, slamming her phone down onto the table. She turned to the flashy woman sitting next to her. "You played me? Didn't you say Leng Yunqi was into Xiao Ran?" Xiao Ran's secretary, Sun Yang, panicked, shaking her head in denial. "No, Miss Qi. It's true. I swear, I've seen Miss Lang chasing after Director Xiao so many times." Qi Luoshan took a long gulp of her drink, her mind spinning with Leng Yunqi's words. Who was the guy in the picture? Could Leng Yunqi have really hooked up with someone her family couldn't mess with? The more Qi Luoshan thought about it, the more anxious she became. She needed to get to the bottom of this quickly. If Sun Yang was lying, there'd be hell to pay. Qi Luoshan hurried out of the private room, not realizing that as she left, Sun Yang lowered her gaze, hiding the venom in her eyes. She had hoped to use this fool to cause trouble for Leng Yunqi, but it turned out that girl was easily defeated. "Leng Yunqi, there's no way I'll let you take Xiao Ran away from me. One day, when I'm the wife of the CEO of the Xiao Corporation, I'll make them all beg at my feet." Qi Luoshan rushed home, and the moment she stepped through the door, she ran into Mrs. Qi waiting in the living room. She quickly showed her mom the photo on her phone. "Mom, look at this. Do you recognize this man?" Mrs. Qi shook her head, puzzled. "No, I don't." "Why are you asking?" Qi Luoshan let out a sigh of relief. "Leng Yunqi said he's an important guest at their house tonight. I just wanted to check." Mrs. Qi frowned. "How many times have I told you not to mess with Leng Yunqi?" Just then, Mr. Qi came downstairs, having overheard the conversation. He wasn't pleased and scolded her. Not only does the Ling family back her, but the Zhong family treats her like royalty too. It's just a birthday party, but they're making such a big deal out of it. Why do you think that is? They're setting her up for something bigger. Qi Luoshan, feeling guilty at first, quickly became angry after hearing her dad's words. Why is she better than me? Our family isn't any less than hers. She's just petty and didn't invite us. Am I not allowed to be upset about that? Mr. Qi's face darkened in anger, just about to lecture her further, but Mrs. Qi stepped in to smooth things over. Enough, let's take another look at this guy. I feel like I've seen his face somewhere before, but it doesn't ring any bells. Mr. Qi furrowed his brow as he looked at the picture carefully. I don't know him either. Hearing her dad's response, Qi Luoshan's anger flared up. So, Leng Yunqi dared to lie to me and say that even if my whole family combined, we couldn't compare to one of this guy's fingers. Mr. Qi, who had been about to reprimand her, stopped short. His expression grew even darker. Did she really say that? That's not just a lie, it's a slap in the face to our whole family. Seeing her dad getting angrier, Chi Luoshan had a sudden idea. Without thinking, she switched to her own social media account and reposted the picture. Lung Yunqi, still asleep, didn't expect Chi Luoshan to start trash-talking Xiao Yumo, calling him a pretty boy online. Chi Luoshan already had a few followers, but soon her post blew up with tons of comments. Meanwhile, Luo Jin, Xiao Yumo's assistant, noticed the trending topic and showed it to him, asking if he wanted to deal with it. Xiao Yumo glanced at it briefly and asked, "Which company is this Night Corporation?" Luo Jin quickly responded, "It's the one that's always trying to get involved in our projects, but they always rank last, the one run by Qi Gasheng. He's been trying to get a meeting with you, but I've been turning him down." Figures, Xiao Yumo said calmly, "Stupidity must run in the family. The dad's useless, and the daughter isn't any smarter. Since they're so free, let's make sure their company has nothing to do. When they can't even stay afloat, they won't be so cocky anymore." Luo Jin was shocked, realizing that Xiao Yumo planned to blacklist the entire Qi family's company. Trying to stay calm, he asked, "Should we take down the trending post?" "There's no need," Xiao Yumo replied as he saved the photo to his tablet. In a surprisingly good mood, he even complimented the picture, "It's not a bad shot." The night before, Lung Yunqi had gone to bed early after her argument with Chi Luoshan in the group chat, unaware that things were about to escalate. It wasn't until the next morning that her friend Zuyun woke her up with a frantic call. "Why haven't you answered my texts? Chi Luoshan's been dragging you through the mud online all morning, and you didn't see it?" Rubbing her eyes, Lung Yunqi asked, "What's Chi Luoshan up to now?" Zuyun angrily said, "She just posted on her main Weibo account accusing you of keeping a pretty boy and said you're just pretending to be all that. Her fans are blowing up your account, and to top it off, she even shared it in our class group." Lung Yunqi listened, both irritated and amused. "I've seen people asking for trouble, but I've never seen anyone rush into it like this. Don't worry. I'll teach her a lesson." She laughed softly, and Zuyun suspected it was more out of frustration than humor. Before she could say more, the call ended. Lung Yunqi logged into Weibo, and sure enough, her inbox was flooded with messages. Ignoring them, she checked the trending topics, and there it was, her picture with Xiao Yumo still pinned at the top. One thought crossed her mind, did the PR team at Xiao Corp take the night off? How could they let this photo of their boss float around all night? Meanwhile, in the class group chat, Chi Luoshan was tagging her non-stop, demanding she respond. Lung Yunqi smirked, typing back, "You asked for this. Don't blame anyone else when your family's stock tanks." Chi Luoshan nearly burst out laughing. "Ha ha, you really think you're somebody, huh? You don't even run your family's company yet, and you think you can crash our stock?" But just as she sent that message, the class president replied immediately. "Chi Luoshan, you better check the news. Your family's stock is literally plummeting right now." Chi Luoshan quickly switched to check her stock app, but before she could even process it, her bedroom door slammed open. Her dad stormed in, face twisted with rage. "You little idiot! Look what you've done!" Qi Gaosheng's veins were bulging as he raised his hand, ready to smack her. Chi Luoshan was scared out of her mind, screaming for her mom. Her mother rushed in, blocking her husband. "Why are you so mad at her? She's just a kid. It's just a squabble between kids. Talk it out, and it'll blow over." "No big deal," Qi Gaosheng's wife said, looking at him like he was overreacting. He stared at her in disbelief. "She's only acting like this because you've spoiled her. The moment the market opened this morning, our company's stock started tanking. Not a single business partner is picking up their phone. I called the people who were at Lung Yunqi's birthday party, and that's when I found out the guy in that photo is from the Qiao family. Do you know what kind of power he holds? He could crush us with a snap of his fingers." Qi Gaosheng's eyes were bloodshot, and his wife shuddered as she remembered the things their daughter had posted on Weibo last night. Chi Luoshan, who had been scared stiff by now, could tell just by looking at her dad's face, one wrong move and their whole family could be bankrupt. Thinking about the trash she had posted online, her stomach dropped. She felt like her entire world was falling apart. "What are you waiting for? Go apologize to Lang Yunqi right now," her mom yelled, grabbing her by the arm. "We're all going together." Qi Gaoxing's face was stone cold, his chest heaving. "This mess is way too big for just an apology. Forget about the Qiao family, we might not even get through this with the Long family." Meanwhile, over at the Leng household, Ling Yunqi, her anxiety skyrocketed. She used to think she and Lang Yunqi were on the same level. But now, standing here, she realized just how clueless she had been. The Leng family's power was way beyond anything her family could dream of. The three of them nervously walked into the living room, where Lang Yunqi was casually sipping her coffee. "Uncle, Aunt, why are you here so early?" Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, making her presence even more striking. Qi Luoshan froze, stunned. Why did it feel like in just a few weeks, this girl had completely transformed? Last night, Luoshan was drunk and said some things online she shouldn't have. "We've already punished her, and we've come specifically to have her apologize to you," Mrs. Qi said while pushing Qi Luoshan forward to bow and apologize. "You've been classmates for 4 years. Please forgive her this once. We promise nothing like this will ever happen again." Qi Luoshan's face flushed with a mix of red and blue from humiliation, but she had no choice but to grit her teeth and go through with it. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said all that. I was drunk and not thinking straight. I'll never run my mouth like that again." Lang Yunqi, amused, watched the scene unfold. "Auntie, Qi Luoshan and I are classmates. I wouldn't purposely hold a grudge against her," she said calmly. "She did drink too much last night and said some things, but this morning, she was still trash-talking me in our class group chat, calling me fake and pretentious. Hasn't the hangover worn off yet?" Qi Gaoxing's face turned a furious shade of blue, and he raised his hand, ready to slap Qi Luoshan right in front of Lang Yunqi. Terrified, Qi Luoshan shook and instinctively hid behind her mother. Just as Mr. Qi was about to punish his daughter in front of Lang Yunqi, a voice interrupted from the staircase. "Mr. Qi, what's the rush this early in the morning?" Zhong Minute, standing at the top of the stairs, calmly stepped in to stop the commotion. "Are you really here to lecture your daughter?" she asked, her tone faint but firm, breaking up the heated scene like it was no big deal. It's not like this sort of drama was anything new to them. Did the Qi family really think they could get away with this? Lang Yunqi smiled and stood up, mockingly calling out Mr. Qi's name, clearly unimpressed. At that, Qi Gaoxing hesitated, slowly lowering his arm, his face flushing with embarrassment. Zhong Minute, however, wasn't smiling. She coldly addressed the Qi family. "I know exactly what your daughter said online yesterday. If she thinks so little of Yunqi, then there's no need to force her to apologize. It's meaningless." A nearby butler quickly approached, signaling it was time for them to leave. Qi Luoshan, realizing her humiliation was far from over, shouted in desperation, "I was wrong, Lang Yunqi. I was really wrong. I was just jealous of you. I had been drinking, and someone was egging me on." Her voice suddenly faltered, eyes wide as if she had just clutched at her last hope. She became agitated. "It was that vile woman who manipulated me into saying those things. It wasn't my fault." "Are you talking about Sun Yang?" Lang Yunqi's gaze turned icy. She hadn't yet confronted that mistress, but Sun Yang had made the first move. Watching the glimmer of hope in Qi Luoshan's eyes, Lang Yunqi smirked and lowered her gaze. "How do I know this isn't just some excuse you're using to shift the blame?" Qi Luoshan's face lit up, desperate. "I can take you to Xiao Corporation. We can confront her right there and then." Lang Yunqi, flanked by 2 bodyguards, arrived at Xiao Corporation with Qi Luoshan cautiously following behind. Sun Yang, busy with some paperwork and chatting with a colleague, was caught off guard by the sound at the door. She turned to see Lang Yunqi's striking face, accompanied by her 2 black-clad bodyguards. Shocked and confused, Sun Yang couldn't believe Long Yunqi was here. Before she could process what was happening, Qi Luoshan rushed at her, grabbing her hair and delivering a sharp slap. "You vile woman! How dare you manipulate me?" The office fell into complete silence. Sun Yang, utterly stunned, could barely react. Sun Yang stared at Qi Luoshan in disbelief, her entire body trembling with anger, but she only dared to stammer, "Miss Qi, why did you hit me? Why did I hit you? Do you really have the nerve to ask?" Qi Luoshan wasn't bothering with any grace or manners now. She glared sharply at Sun Yang. "What did you say about Long Yunqi last night? Go ahead, say it again." Sun Yang clutched her face, feigning innocence, and sniffled pitifully, "I didn't say anything." Qi Luoshan let out a cold laugh. "You deliberately told me last night that Long Yunqi had a deep connection with your boss. Don't even think about denying it." Hearing this, Sun Yang realized Qi Luoshan was confronting her, and blinked, her face full of fake innocence. "Miss Lang and our boss do have a close relationship, but I didn't say anything wrong." At that moment, the door to the chairman's office swung open. Xiao Ran entered, frowning as he took in the scene, Sun Yang clutching her cheek, Qi Luoshan standing beside her, furious. "Third young master, Miss Qi misunderstood me," Sun Yang quickly said, her voice full of grievance. "She suddenly barged in and hit me." Long Yunqi stood to the side, enjoying the spectacle. Qi Luoshan had completely underestimated this two-faced woman. Xiao Ran's face darkened. "You storm into my company to hit someone. Do you think the Xiao Corporation is a place where just anyone can cause trouble?" Xiao Ran Ji, Long Yunqi greeted him casually, seemingly having forgotten about their disagreement from the night before. She even smiled a little. Xiao Ran frowned but tried to keep his tone calm. "What brings you here?" Qi Luoshan quickly jumped in. "We're here to settle things. Last night, Sun Yang deliberately spread rumors to me about you and Long Yunqi, saying that the two of you." Qi Luoshan suddenly choked on her words. Last night, when Sun Yang said those things, Qi Luoshan had felt triumphant. But now, she just wanted to apologize, not expose Long Yunqi's secrets in front of Xiao Ran. In that moment, Qi Luoshan realized how clever Sun Yang had been all along, manipulating her with those two sentences. Qi Luoshan had just stopped mid-sentence, clearly thrown off. Xiao Ran's face showed more frustration, while Sun Yang couldn't hide the smug smile tugging at her lips. The satisfaction flickered across her face. Long Yunqi noticed it right away. She took one look at Sun Yang's gloating expression, then glanced at Qi Luoshan, who was clearly upset after falling for Sun Yang's trap. Long Yunqi inwardly scoffed, thinking, "Seriously? You fell for that weak attempt to manipulate you?" Long Yunqi turned to Xiao Ran. "Xiao Ran," she said, almost playfully, "last night, when my mom and I were dropping off young Master Qiao, some locals snapped a photo of us, and it went viral. It just so happened that your secretary, Sun Yang, and Qi Luoshan were together at the time, discussing my relationship with you." She paused on purpose before continuing, "So, tell me, what position does a secretary have to talk about me and you in public like that?"